stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Peter Somerville, Town Council.
Becky Larkin, Town Council. John Dolce, Town Supervisor.
Ryan, Town
Randy Bates, Town Councilman.
Ryan Wood, Town Councilman.
Victoria Craig, Town Clerk.
Okay, moving on to audience comments. Do you have any audience comments? If you do, please stand up at the podium so that we can hear you through the speaker. Just state your name, please.
Charlotte Irish.
Mike Irish.
Your pictures.
These are some pictures, for the reason that we come here tonight.
Okay.
It's an ongoing town/leader issue. That we're
Okay.
hoping to get some help resolving.
So this is, not to stress you out, but this is televised or on? So you need to speak into the microphone so everybody sees or hears.
Go ahead.
Sure, go ahead.
We're here tonight to ask for the town's help to try to resolve an issue we're having with one of the town officials and their neighbor. We moved here back in 2018. The issue we're having started in 2019. We came to the town, we put up a fence, we made sure we were legal and height and setbacks and all that. Tim Lifford told us we were good to go, keep the fence under 6 feet and enjoy our property. Since then, it's caused a neighbor issue. We don't know where else to turn because Tim hasn't helped with resolving that issue. We're on 351 in Medusa.
Martin Chase's old place. If anyone knows where Martin Chase, Barry Chase, who bought his place.
The problem here is there's a building that is 10 feet off of our line. We have surveyed our property back in September of 2000. The building, as you can see, I don't know if you have the pictures, you see the building is up on the bank, teetering on cement blocks. Most of these pictures are recent. The picture that's most current was taken last week with the blue Target sign thing. We've received violations from Tim on our, what was it, the pool. We had 2 goats, we had to get rid of our animals. Nobody else has. We've come back, we tried, being cordial, being civil, and about 3 weeks ago, it was said to us, it's all about who you know. This was an ongoing issue with the neighbor.
Can I just point out them pictures, please, so you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, please.
I just took down an 8-foot privacy screen. Okay, I just took it down because it wasn't this was another one. But if you look close right here, it should be a closer picture of the camera. Right there. That's a trail camera. Okay, I put up an 8-foot privacy screen, and that's where that trail camera wanted to go. Over top. Now this is facing directly into my yard. That fence post is my property line. That's his camper. It's only 15 feet. So this is what we're dealing with. All we want permission is to put an oversized fence up and have him remove his shed off the property line, because by the setback rules, I believe it's 25 feet, it could be wrong, but that shed is only 10'6" off my line. So,
So go ahead, continue.
We've been down here numerous times to speak with him about the shed, and all the other issues that we're having, we have to deal with on our own. We get it, we understand that. The real problem, I believe, is the building. That's number one. But the permission, this is causing issues with my kids and stuff at home. We would like to put up a 10-foot fence. We have somebody willing to help, a friend of ours with a fence company, willing to help us put that up to try to eliminate having all of that facing into the yard and causing all the discomfort that it has caused for our family in the last 4 years. We've gotten our permits for anything that we've ever done. If we were unsure, we came down here to ask for permission, you know, what do we have to do, what are the rules around here? We go by the book. There's nothing that we haven't done that's by the book. And all we're asking for is to hopefully do something to get that building moved. That's number one. And then also, the only thing we can think of, and we would need permission, is to put that fence up to block it all out. And
I know that
that's the basic is a site plan thing, for one. But the building being unsafe and also on the line, and Tim told us he's not making a move there.
And why? Well, I'll let you finish.
Tim told us straight up, I'm not making a move there. We were forced to survey, we brought back the survey copies. I believe we handed you one, and we gave Tim one. This is just 5 years of nonstop harassment and aggravation. I want the building moved, and we'd like permission to put up a tall fence to hopefully solve the problem.
And the reason why you want the building moved, my
It's a safety
understanding
issue for one.
is that, they have animals
It's-
boarding
yeah,
in there
they're-
and it smells.
It's full of rabbits, that are locked in that.
oh, there's
It's
another,
a shed, all it is a shed, and it's filled floor to ceiling with rabbits. It's a smell complaint, yeah, we hear the rabbits screaming, that's our thing. I don't know if that's an actual issue, a lot. They run a goat breeding and rabbit breeding business.
Can I ask one question? In the beginning of your statement, you said that you were cited for having goats and you got rid of your goats. What
Tim
were you
came,
cited for?
not having a special use permit, which we weren't aware that even existed.
because we live in a hamlet,
And we were not informed when we got the goats back in 2019 that it was an issue. We came right to Tim before we did anything. We also went to the highway department to see how far off the road the fence had to be.
Do you have a
And
copy
Tim-
of that citation?
I didn't bring it.
You have it,
I don't have it with me, but
that's home.
but you have it.
yes.
Could you please give a copy of that to the
Sure.
town supervisor when you have time?
I mean, this is also, I was sitting on another, just a issue that we had. Tim showed up to my house on a Saturday morning with a complaint from this neighbor because I didn't take the pool ladder out of the pool an hour before he showed up. So the neighbor called Tim came out on a Saturday to tell me the motion was this: teach my kid how to take the ladder out of the pool, which he's not allowed to touch in the first place. But he's not doing what he needs to do to solve a problem. And it's gotten out of control with our neighbor, with every agency of law enforcement there is. And we're told that we have to try to get the town to help us fix this.
Have you called the sheriff's department?
Sheriff, state
Sheriff,
police,
state
DEC,
What have they done?
nothing.
Their hands are tied.
Their hands are tied.
It's a civil issue, there's no criminal act, so it's a challenge for law enforcement in that particular thing. I feel for you, like, and I understand your frustration, but you also understand, like,
No, we understand
New
that.
York, the state of laws, and
Right.
it's a civil issue, and
Mhm.
unfortunately, that means for you to push that civil issue, it costs you money,
A lot
because
of
of
money.
lawyers and
A
stuff
lot.
like that, and, you know, I apologize for that, but I
No.
don't make the state laws, it's frustrating, I understand that, but, I mean, I think at some point we have to take a look at the whole picture just to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do.
And I informed them that they need to go to the planning board to get a permit to install a 10-foot fence. Gate.
It's just a straight, single 100-foot line of fencing.
Sure.
No gates.
No
Almost
gates.
all of our yard is fenced in.
Yeah.
But the privacy fence would being over height, I believe, would help a lot of our problems.
Now, I just said, I know you said it's up to the planning board, but how can he keep that shed there, the setback rule is wrong? I mean, he's not abiding by the setback rule, so how can it be allowed to keep that shed there?
Can you answer that?
Well, if the shed is within the setback, it shouldn't be there.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, I would file a complaint with the building department.
Tim straight up told us he is not
Tim
making
said
them move the
He is
building.
not making him move that building, flat out. He said it right here in front of the zoning board.
We've been here a couple times, but I'm not exactly sure what meetings were attended.
At first,
Was
at
there a reason
first,
expressed?
excuse me?
Was there a reason expressed?
Yeah, what's the reason?
That he said that he was gonna make money, that's right.
Because he said that the homeowner, the person in question is the parent to the actual homeowner. She came down and she said, I didn't know we put it where we put it and it shouldn't go there. Well, we just spent $2,200 having CT Mail come out and survey, so now they know where the property line is, and so does Tim. And for 4 years, since September 1st of 2000, when we had it surveyed, he claims he's not making them move it.
Okay.
He had told us he doesn't care, sue the town, I don't care. That was said directly to us at the front counter. Because he basically is tired of all the nonsense. And he said, sue the town, I don't care. And that's a direct quote.
But the reason for, oh, excuse me, but the reason he gave us for not moving it was, he said, they put the building there before you surveyed it. I don't think that should matter. I surveyed it, it's too close to my property line, I feel it should be moved.
Well, was there a permit issued to put the building there?
No,
And was there any planning board, approvals granted for the
I-
construction of the building?
that I
It
can't
was
say.
one of the roll-off buildings. It's a already
Shed,
pre-built
drop
shed.
off.
Nama shed?
Or what about, any occurrences before the zoning board of appeals?
I don't think,
I had a shed brought to my house, and I came down here and got a permit
we,
for that shed before it was even put on my property.
and we purchased that to try to block what's
There now.
continuing on and going, it's not working.
Well, can you give me the opportunity to look at and inquire of the planning board about if anything has happened, or if anything was ever done at a public meeting, with regard to the issues that you're raising, and then I'll speak to the town board and to the supervisor.
Okay.
I'd like to just say that, I don't want to say I'm sympathetic to your problem, but I'm about what's right and what's wrong. And if there's a
That's-
wrong, I'll push to right it. If it can't be by the recommendation of the lawyer and law,
We
then-
can't enjoy our property.
understood, right. And unfortunately, I am sympathetic that you're in a neighbor dispute because that's never fun. But to me, here, sitting behind this table, it's about what's right and wrong. If I find a wrong, then I'll bust my butt to make it right. But I don't want to make promises until we have time to look at it. It's the first time I've heard about this, so, trust me, I would support what's right, 100%.
We just feel like we're singled out.
Yeah, I got you. I would like a copy because now that I know where you live, obviously your neighbor has animals and so does your neighbor across the street have animals. So I'm just making sure that everything was done
And
right.
we're in full compliance. We got told to get rid of them and we did.
Understood, and
Broke
I
my kid's
appreciate
heart,
it.
you know, It
So-
broke up my kid's heart to do it, but we did what we had to do because we know what the legal is.
We're asking you for a copy of that citation, correct?
Okay,
Yes.
And what else did we
No,
have
no,
a
just
copy
let
of
us
this
look into
survey?
it.
I'm gonna, I need to inquire.
192 County Route 351,
Yeah, and again, right now the shed is how far from the property line?
about 10 feet.
And what's the law read?
I'm not
It's either
sure, I have,
25 feet from the property.
They're inside of it, that's the point.
So it's 192 County Route 351?
correct.
Okay, anything else? you want to add?
That would be it.
All right, thanks for coming in
Thank you.
and sharing.
Sorry to go through that.
Thank you.
And now I bring them the things we got, the
You want a picture?
citations to you.
Please.
Okay.
We'll get it from John.
We'll
Takes care
bring
of
it to
all this.
Vicky and have her make a copy and she'll give it to the board.
Okay.
Okay?
I believe them citations
Keep the
are here,
pictures.
because I got
Or
copies of them.
You
Yeah,
want-
can we keep these?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's only a few that, because my camera's not real clear, so that's only a few of the
But
pictures.
that's fine.
That's no.
Okay?
Okay.
All right,
you.
thanks
Thank
for
you.
the comments.
Or say,
Okay,
thank you.
all right, fine. So moving on to the minutes of the December 26th regular meeting, which is the final meeting.
I'll move we accept the minutes of December 26th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. January 2nd meeting. I make a motion to accept the minutes of the January 2nd meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
He,
Motion-
excuse me, you have to abstain from the December 26th. Yes?
Oh, Pete had to,
Abstain, because you went at the time.
Oh, right.
okay.
So you voted in favor, but you have to abstain.
Say abstain. Say abstain. Say it.
That's right, I
Say it.
abstained.
Say I abstain.
I abstained.
Okay.
Right.
No budget modifications or transfers. I'll make a motion to pay all signed vouchers and bills.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No correspondence. I thought we were taking that off the agenda.
What? Correspondence?
Correspondence?
Yeah.
Or does somebody correspond?
Reports, the supervisor's report. I want to mention a couple things. I'll keep it brief. As long as Brian doesn't interject. So my goals for 2024 are carrying over into 2025. I want to bring up two things that are very dear to my heart. I want to tell the public about the unsafe buildings law, the shipping container law. These are laws that are in place for the town of Rensselaer. And
Thank you.
I want the citizens and the people that don't live here, but own property here, that I'm not giving up on the unsafe buildings laws. Now, what's happening is that the town of Rensselaer is assessing a fee for unsafe buildings. And people are circumventing that, whether it's due to a lack of law enforcement or justices or code enforcement. But the unsafe buildings, the blighted buildings are a tremendous mark on our town. Rensselaer is a beautiful town and people, I appreciate it very much and other people don't appreciate it. And the excuse of it's my property, I can do whatever I want, that's if they have their property for eternity. They don't own their property for eternity. The town of Rensselaer has a major problem, which I won't say the name, but it's on Sayre Road, which I'll probably get in trouble for saying that. But this is a property that not only is blighted and unsafe, it's polluted. It will never be rectified. It's gone. The town doesn't have the money to clean it because we may come up with the money to clean it, but we can't pay for the attorneys and the lawyers and and the courts to get the rights to clean up this problem. So if that person is listening, I recommend that you sign that property over to the town so we could rehabilitate it and bring it back to normal. Otherwise, it's gonna stay that way for generations. Thank God people get old and they die, but eventually their heirs are gonna inherit this property, and they're not gonna want this property. The other thing is the shipping containers. People have the belief that these are not taxed. Number one, there's a permit required, and number two, they are taxed. So who's ever selling these containers to you and say that they're not taxable, I want them to know that they're taxable. It's posted on our website, it applies to the shed laws, the rules, the laws, and, we have, all of a sudden, they're popping up all over the place. And they're not even abiding by the setback rules. And, anyway, that's, I just want everybody to know that I'm really upset about this, that we're not, people aren't respecting the land, they're not respecting our town. And that's my report. Probably nobody wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept your report.
Thank you. All in favor? The accountant is not here. The attorney,
I'm here.
yes.
Thank God.
There's a couple things, that I've been, well, more than a couple things that I've been working on, but the most salient 2 points are that the bulk matter and, the water district. The decision was issued, and I hope you've read it, that said we have to establish a trust, put the money in and have it dispersed annually according to the terms of the decision. I've reached out to several, financial institutions. All have said that they don't draft the trust agreements except for the community foundation. And today I spent a fair amount of time on the phone with the the CEO of the community foundation. And here's what's available for the town. There's 2 funds or 2 trusts that we can put it in. Either an endowed fund or a non-endowed fund. The endowed fund protects the principal of the trust, which is about around $900,000. And by not invading the principal, you are really guaranteeing, maybe too strong of a word, but you're recognizing the fact that the principal will be here in perpetuity for the benefit of the town. With a endowed fund, you can distribute 4% each year, and that 4% is calculated over the course of 20 quarters. And the funds, your funds would have to be invested for 4 quarters before you can make a distribution, and that would be at the end of 2025. With the endowed fund, you cannot dip into the principal. With the non-endowed fund, you have the opportunity to spend as little or as much as you like without restriction. And with the non-endowed fund, you can dip into the principal as you see fit, and you can start spending now. The fee for,
Can I just ask one on the non-endowed, does that mean that the principal's not protected on a non-endowed fund?
that means any town board can invade the principal. Uh, And there's been talk here over the last few months about how there's a committee formed with various proposals to spend the money. And I don't know if any of those proposals will ever result in like a capital project that would have to invade the principal. But I do know that the decision said that we could distribute up to 90% of the accrued income on an annual basis, and that's a lot of money. When you take the principal involved. So my advice to you as a board is to go with the community fund, because they've been around for decades. They have a great reputation, and it's complying with the order and decision of Judge Lynch, which stated that we needed to have a trust agreement, which they have, and which I have reviewed, both of them, for the endowed and the non-endowed funds. It's up to you to make a decision on whether you want to use the endowed fund or the non-endowed fund. If you go with the non-endowed fund, you just have to be careful that money, and I know you won't, money is not spent foolishly. You're five smart people, and I don't know what's going to happen after you all leave the board, but you don't want to be placed in a situation where a new board perhaps comes in and says, oh, let's spend it all on something that's not community orientated. You just don't know. So, it's up to you to go with either the non-endowed or the endowed fund. But if you go with the non-endowed fund, where you can invade the principal if you so elect, I think, and I know you have an investment policy, but we have to expand upon that. And I would recommend that we develop a policy and guidelines for any principal invasion, so it's not dissipated in an unhealthy way.
I have a question.
Ask me as many as you
The
want.
4% is 4% of what?
4% of what,
It can't be 4% of the interest, because that's very little.
well, you can, I'll answer it this way. 4% is less than 9%. You're right. And I don't know how much accrued income investments will earn on an annual basis.
So I want to give you this example. We, in 1 year, I'm going to use a roundabout number, we got about $24,000 in interest
Okay,
from the boat.
okay,
Now, we wanted to spend at they're not accurate numbers, but we wanted to spend 90% of that to give out to certain grants. Are you saying that we can only use 4% of?
well,
I don't think that's,
that's what they would distribute, John. So, I've listened to you and the board about this. I really think the non-endowed is the way to go, because you're not gonna be limited to the 4%. And you can go per the judge's order up to 9%,
90%.
90%.
Is there a difference in the amount of interest or money we make on the endowed and non?
No.
So 4% of the principal
Is
So
that
no, it's 4% of the,
interest?
interest earned,
That does not,
that's principal.
that's, you know,
but the decision was quite beneficial in the sense that, you know, you're right, it did say 90%.
so how do we protect? So I did speak to this woman from Community Foundation, which I'm leaning towards this company also. The 1-year return, which because the market was good, was 21%. The 10-year return was 6.6%. We're getting 3%. To pay the $8,000
For the 1%.
is another percent. So that means we need 4% to break even. At 6.6%, we're more than break. But I have a problem with 4% of the interest. I don't believe she clarified that to me.
Well, she
I mean, I
did,
read it here. And they're saying the endowed option would be a 4% spending policy. So
that's right.
4% on the interest is not working.
Yeah.
Well, and but you don't know how much interest you're gonna earn in any year, that's number one. But number two, I don't disagree with you. I think, especially when a decision says you can spend up to 90% of what you're
Of the interest.
Yeah.
4% is minuscule.
Yeah.
No, wait a sec, you can spend up to 90%.
Other than
Just
that,
interest?
Just the
or
interest,
Of the interest that was earned.
just the interest.
So if you did
How much of the
6%,
principal can we spend?
None.
and then
Well, under the
Non-endowed.
non-endowed, you can invade the principal if you so wish.
there's nothing in between. Like, I like the endowed idea, we're not touching the principal, but we just would like to spend more of the interest earned.
I don't like the idea that the principal's supposed to be in perpetuity.
Yeah. So, what we can do is, I can work with her and draft the agreement in such a way that the principal will be preserved. And that you can withdraw up to 90% of, yes. And that's what, and by acting in that way, you're really preserving and protecting your community, which is consistent with what, the decedent wanted.
But the fee is 4%.
The fee is 1.5% of the first 100,000, from 101,000 to 500,000 is 1%, and over 500,000, excuse me, is 0.75%.
So on the total, I calculated about 8,600. The fee for the annual fee.
But you're gonna pay a fee anywhere.
That's a lot.
Well,
That's why I brought up, right now, we're getting 3% on our line. We need to get 4% on our line to break even. Their 10-year return has been 6.6%. So I personally moved to take that chance.
well, the other thing is, I don't think it's a lot of money, Randy, but obviously you're entitled to your point of view. You're gonna pay a fee for someone to do this, number one. And number two, everyone, 99% of the people to whom I've spoken, like 4 or 5 companies, these are the only people that have responded.
Well, we've been kicking this around for a long time.
So then the question becomes endowed or non-endowed.
You're correct.
But you think, you're pretty comfortable thinking that you would be able to protect the
Principal, I'll make it so, I'll make it that way in the agreement, and I'll talk to her about it, the director, tomorrow about it, and also, I'm gonna draft a resolution for you that will do just that.
I would like to go forward with the community foundation. I've read these other
I would
proposals.
like to do that also with the endowed version.
The
The non-endowed,
non-endowed. So we could finally get this monies.
and you can start,
If you can get it up to 90%.
well, that's what decision said.
So we all can.
That is a very nice number. Actually, I was shocked. I mean, just say it's 900 grand and it say interest, it use John's number, 20 grand a year, you earn interest in 20 grand a year. I mean, you can take 18,000 of that.
Well, let's move forward though. Get it.
Times 5%. It's 45,000.
Yeah, it's significant.
90%, 45,000. That's 5%.
But just how do we protect that money from future bills? Because they may not be,
We can avoid it, so we can.
Can this be changed if we choose non-endowed or
I'll find
endowed?
that out. That's a good question.
Can a board in the future change it?
I need to ask that over. Absolutely. So your question is, if we go with the non-endowed, can someone come in and change it to endowed? Yeah, right.
so we don't need a motion for that.
No,
Just gonna
no,
move forward.
I'm gonna move forward, since I have your direction.
Good. Okay, so that's good.
We're up 10% every year, Dylan.
The other point is, and you have your, in your packet, there's been lately, I got another one this afternoon, from EFC on the water. They've outlined a chronology of what we, and Edwin can talk about this later, a chronology of what we need to do over the next year to get this finished and wrapped up. We're gonna issue hopefully have the bond issued to repay you. There's a motion in here to retain York Law Firm in New York City to do the bonding work for the bond anticipation note. And ultimately, when the final cost of the improvements is determined, then another bond will be issued, and it will be, the bonds will be rolled into one, and then there'll be permanent financing. I've dealt with Orrick Law Firm and Douglas Goodfriend extensively over the last 30 years, and they're very competitive, and they do a good job. And to walk you through all the bonding resolutions with me. And I don't do that type of work, and fools rush in where angels fear to tread. And that's my report. Oh, the other point is there's an MOA in there on the health insurance that we talked about in the document.
So shall I read the resolution?
Oh, no, you don't have to do that. Just,
Sign it.
yeah, when you get there. It's back down here.
Yep.
Yeah. That's my report.
Will we accept the attorney's report?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. 5-0.
Good evening. We'll start with the recycling report. I did put a couple spreadsheets together for everybody, just to take a look at 2024 numbers versus 2023 numbers, and really amazingly similar. So very close to the amount of trash. Actually down, I think, 5 tons on the amount of trash last year. We did receive our new container that we purchased off Auctions International. The buyer's premium, was $4,763, so we have that here. Once we have a little project in the shop going on now on a 20-ton trailer, we're redecking it and painting the frame stuff. Once we get that out, we're gonna bring that container in, but alter the door a little, and then we'll get that in service, so. I am working on receiving some quotes, spoke with John on, garage door openers for the transfer station itself. Over the course of the last 2 years, we've had four times we've had to call the door company out to fix the doors. And most of it comes from the chain fall operation. And they're big, heavy doors that get flying down real quick and then they get unhinged. And I think it'd be cost effective in the long range to just have electric door openers on it. So I get some quotes on that and go from there. Outside of that, transfer station seems to be running smoothly. As for the highway department, we're in winter mode, obviously. We're chipping away at some small shop projects because we have that trailer in there, and we're starting to look for some of the summer equipment and get it serviced and ready to go for spring. A few things I just wanted to report on 2024. In 2024, we had no time loss, no workers' comp time loss reported at all in 2024, which is a good accomplishment. We resurfaced 4.78 miles of town road. We chip sealed 1.28 miles of road. We double chip sealed a quarter mile of road. And we crack sealed 4.9 miles of road. So it really was we got over a lot of road miles this year. I guess the last thing I have to mention is this week Carolyn helped us. We completed our annual training for workplace violence, sexual harassment, bloodborne pathogens, and right to know. So we should be in compliance for another year with those programs. And that concludes my report for the month.
Jason, I have a question.
Sure.
On the dollars collected,
Yes,
this is just for tires.
correct,
It doesn't mention the steel, right?
correct. I can get that number for you if you'd like. I don't usually put that in the report because we only get a check every couple months. So he keeps track of it. He sends me a screenshot of
I
it.
think we got about 6,000.
He just said he just sent another check. Yeah. So I mean, I do get a screenshot of it, but I don't usually put it in the monthly report, the dollars.
All right, that's good.
Ready, I make a motion to accept the highway department.
Sorry.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Town clerk?
The town clerk for December, everybody has the numbers. We spent most of December kind of preparing for the taxes, town and county taxes. Pete usually runs our reports and our files for us, but with Pete Hoteling being out, he had asked the county, Mike McGuire at county, to do it. So Mike's been helping us with that. We got everything out in timely fashion. We've had a lot of calls this week on where's my tax bill, but they are in the mail. There was a delay at the vendor that we were using. Westerlo was also experiencing a bit of an unusual delay. But the tax bills are in the mail. They should be here today, tomorrow, Saturday. And then, so we've been off to a slow start for January as far as collection goes. We should hit that ground running probably by tomorrow or Monday. But everything was good.
I make a motion to accept the town clerk's report.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you. Code enforcement.
Good evening. For the December building and planning report, we took in $734 with building permits, renewals, fees and fines. We got $250 for a stop work order.
What does BWOP stand for?
Building without a permit. We did 15 complaints, inquiries, and 10 inspections. We've got a couple of annual reports due to the state, and I think that's the end of the month. I'll do that and have that for you, have that completed by next month. There was a lot of discussion about the certificates of appropriateness for the solar panels in the hamlet. Before the planning board right now, there's 2 applications for roof-mounted black solar panel arrays, and they're going through what we have is the certificate of appropriate review by the planning board. There was a lot of letters and phone calls and inquiries. All the neighbors and abutters are in favor of the install. Everybody was in favor of the review and having them installed. We had 2 structure fires. A single wide home was completely destroyed over on Miller Road, and an accessory structure down here on Fox Creek Road.
What caused the accessory structure?
Sauna.
But was there something that they did wrong or that was constructed wrong?
I don't know if Brian, were you there, Brian?
It just probably wasn't the best way to put a double wall pipe up through the roof. It was not really the sauna because the sauna is heated by a wood stove. So there was a wood chimney that either probably the chimney looked clearly, so it didn't look like it had a fire in it. It's probably just over time heated up the wood because we did a lot of damage when we were trying to get to the fire, so it's hard to see around that, but it looked like it was built with just the timbers boxed in the chimney. So probably not a good clearance around it. That metal or double walled metal chimneys still need an air gap around them. I just don't think it was properly enough.
And that's it for my report.
I make a motion to accept the code enforcement building inspector report.
Second.
Do we have an assessor's report?
We got to vote, John.
No.
All in favor?
Uh,
The building inspector.
Okay, I'm sorry. Who seconded it?
Ed.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. No assessor's report? Water sewer?
Is there a report there?
Are you asking me if I have a report? 10 minutes? Yeah, exactly. Good evening, happy new year. We did not have a committee meeting on the 2nd of January due to a lack of quorum. That said, work is continuing, and unfortunately, through the holidays, the 2 weeks, we had pretty significant fluctuation of water levels in the tank. We had a blockage of the intake pipe, which, I don't know, in my tenure, I haven't seen it happen, but it did Christmas Eve and New Year's week, where it was blocked and water wasn't coming in, so somebody had to wait out and clear the debris. But that, now that the slow sand filter was without water for several hours or many hours, it takes a while for that water to now build pressure back up and stuff. So it was sort of touch and go for several days. That being said, we're monitoring the fluctuation. It seems to have gone away. There was even a potential of a leak in town, or perhaps some running toilets or something that was also causing concern with water plant operators. Anyhow, moving on. You recall last month, Lynn Love came here, new president of the Hike Preserve, to speak to the letter that she had sent about the engineering firm, Labella, the recommendations on the defective low-level outlet. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to dig into that at all. There were 5 recommendations made by the engineering firm, five options that they presented, one of which is do nothing. of course, that's always one of the options. And they suggested for the fourth out of 5 options, and that was to abandon the low-level outlet and put a temporary solution for feeding the water district from the lake, directly from the lake. So basically, an electric pump of some sort with a hose in the lake itself, I suppose, I'm not even quite clear, and then bringing that around to the impoundment dam where the intake pipe is. And they call it temporary because they know, of course, that we have this water project in place, although nothing is definite, right?
So I just want to answer that. So I did meet with Lynn Love 2 weeks ago, and I'm gonna meet with her and the lady from the Hike Preserve at 10:30 Tuesday. And we'll be on a conference call with Liddell.
This coming Tuesday?
Yes,
This coming?
because I had questions. I raised an awareness to her, so it brought up questions that she had. So hence this is the lesson.
Great.
Yes, I'll get it.
I'm happy to hear you're engaged. That's great. I guess the final point I would make on that is that particular option that Labella recommended is over $208,000. So funding that would, of course, be the next big topic. Moving on, the Drinking Water Source Protection Program. I know that this is not very exciting, but it is to those of us who are involved with working through this program, because potentially by when it is completed and a report is written for our watershed, the Winslow and Byrne watershed, there's potential for us to achieve some funding there that either is going to be directly related to that project or perhaps help us with some other initiatives. Just sort of at a high level speaking in that regard. So we're anxious to see where that finally falls. It was supposed to be completed by the end of last year or December, but there's a little bit more work that needs to be done in order to get that completed. The EPA administrative order, as you recall, we were called out by the EPA in violation of the law, couldn't tell you which law that is, for exceedances of disinfection byproducts on multiple occasions over the past year. So we are continuing to work with the EPA to be in compliance with our plan to mitigate those issues. We recently submitted a monitoring and hydrant flushing plan that we've always been talking about, but we never had a static schedule that we can formally say we're sticking to, where we're going to flush the distribution system via the hydrants twice a year on these particular months. And now that we're documented that we're actually doing it. So I imagine a collaboration with the Rensselaer Fire Department would be the best way to accomplish that. Although this particular action is a responsibility of the water district. Not necessarily lastly, but last on my report that got handed out is that the water district is continuing the improvement project. The water district is continuing to work with our technical assistance providers who we have gained access to from awards that we won last year, free assistance. And we are moving into basically the second phase of our project, where we have to now write RFPs to solicit other engineers to help us with building the project for the construction phase. We've gotten an eligibility letter for $2.5 million, as we reported last year. but now we have to take it to the point where we actually are formally addressing the construction project that money is earmarked for. So there's a lot of work that has to still take place, and that's, Bill referred to a memo that I believe might have been handed out in your packet this evening from Sustainable Growth. This is, I'm not gonna go through all of this, but this is a task list of the things that we need to accomplish over the next 6 months, around 5 months, basically. The biggest priority right now is getting to the procurement financial application, John, that we ultimately will need to negotiate with the EFC on and well, strike a deal. And that's my report. Any questions?
Can I ask a question?
Please.
I think we should tie in the dam with the improvement project.
Well, I don't know that it can be because, it's a vague point. The LLO, as it's called, lower level outlet, was constructed, or it serves two purposes. One, to feed the water district in the event that water is not coming over the spillway because the lake is lower than the dam, which happens in the summertime, just about every year. And the other is that it's a safety mechanism in the event that there's potential that the lake could flood the town. And so to ease the pressure, if there was hurricane or torrential rains that caused the lake to overflow in such a way, we could release water, or the height could release water through the LLO to offset some of the pressure of the water that's going over the dam. So I don't know that the EFC would accept that as part of the water upgrade project. However, it's been my hope, we have been following, if you recall me talking about the Albany County Hazard Mitigation Plan. I haven't spoken much about it because we're in a wait and see state right now. The plan was completed, it was submitted to the county. I believe it has to go to the state. I'm not quite sure who's next that has to approve it. But now that Rensselaerville will be on that report for the county, there is grant funding available that wasn't available before, that the High Preserve had gone to apply for to fix the spill. The dam is out of compliance with the DEC in general. So there was a plan to bring the spillway into compliance as well as repair that LLO. But this could take, another year or sometime this year before we learn that the hazard mitigation plan is completed. And then I'm not sure which party, I don't know if the Hike would be in favor of going after that funding again.
Yeah.
The question is, how much time do we have? The damage that LLO is causing the dam itself is the concern. Because it's leaking within the confines of the dam. And so it's causing, I'll call it internal erosion.
Correct.
If you go to the dam, you can actually see where the riprap is depressed. Because the water is causing erosion underneath the riprap. So how long do we wait, to look for funding to repair it, or do we address the recommendation by Labella and find
the dam failure.
Yeah, potentially. They didn't say it, their report didn't define it as an emergency
situation that needed to be rectified immediately, so, I mean, we depend on the hype is depending on the engineering firm to define the severity of the issue. But they're of course careful not to say, well, you've got a year, you've got 5 years, no, they're saying this should be taken care of in a relatively short time frame. And I don't even want to speak out of turn, I'd rather look at the report to see what they've in fact said, but if there's any indication of when they think it should be done.
Okay.
Does that help? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
I move we accept the water sewer committee report.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. On the old business, MOA for gap and medical coverage.
No, I can explain
I'm good with it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, the MOA, excuse me, deals with the highway department employee who was a little shy on the bill, and you agreed to pay the difference. I spoke to your insurance representative about this for some length, and she had told me that this had never happened in the town's history before, and that it's always been understood that the difference would be made up. And I wrote an email to all of you that said about a past practice, notwithstanding that. The second provision of the MOA is that this is going to sunset on December 31, 2025, unless it's modified further by a subsequent MOA or by a new collective bargaining agreement. And my advice would be, your agreement expires on December 31, 2025. You might want to seriously consider having language in the new collective bargaining agreement that deals with it 100%. And
I think that's what we agreed upon anyways,
Yeah.
where we cover this till that come out and then we'll address it so that it's
during
in
negotiation.
that contract, there's no problem.
Right. So there's a resolution that approves the MOA and authorizes the supervisor to sign.
I'll make, you want me to read it?
No, you don't have to.
Okay, I'll make a motion that, we adopt a resolution allowing, the town supervisor to sign the MOA with the, local operating engineers union,
With the approval of the town board.
with the approval of the town board.
So,
Okay, roll call.
Yeah.
Correct, John Dolce is aye. Randy Bates.
Aye.
Pete Somerville. Aye. Ed Van Orken. Aye. And Brian Wood.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried. Good.
And the other motion I had was, not motion, the other resolution I had was to retain the ARC law firm with respect to the buying of the water district in Denver.
Second. Let's see, let me just. Pete seconded, roll moved.
No one moved.
I didn't hear.
All right, so what are we moving?
The town of Rensselaerville retains Oracle Law Firm with respect to the bonding of the water district and that.
That's what you said. That worked right.
I need a motion.
I move that the town of Rensselaer retains Oracle law firm with respect to the bonding of the certain water district.
I second. Pete seconded, roll call, John Dolce is an aye. Randy Bates.
aye.
Keith?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Okay. All right, on the old business, new legislation for short-term rentals. The town, we were gonna pass short-term rental law, and now the state is doing it. So
We're gonna leave it up to them.
we're gonna leave it up to them.
Good.
Under new business, authorization to collect water and sewer rates. The water rent, Vicky, do I just read? The water rent is $84,564, and the sewer rent is $33,728. I make a motion to authorize the town of Russellville to collect these water and sewer rents.
Second.
And further authorize the supervisor to sign the warrant.
Yeah, so why don't I make a motion that, we authorize the town supervisor, to sign the warrant on behalf of the town of Rensselaer for the water and sewer side there.
And second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Authorization to sign contract for the 2025 accountant services.
I'll move that we sign, allow the supervisor to sign the contract for the 2025 accountant services with Brian Fitzgerald.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Sign the contract for legal services, Abner Ryan Kennery. I make a motion to authorize the town of Russellville to sign this contract for 2025 legal services.
Second.
2025.
Yeah.
What is it? Pete second, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carried. We have the fire department. But, you guys are gonna have to make a motion for me to sign this.
Which one's first? Oh, no,
I make a motion, authorization to sign the contract for Tri Village Volunteer Fire Company.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I abstain.
Aye. Motion carried. Medusa Volunteer Fire Company.
I'll move we, authorize the supervisor to sign the contract with Reduce Fire Company.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion's carried.
I move we authorize the town supervisor to sign the contract for the Rensselaer Fire Company. Volunteer Fire.
I'll second.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. So now we're protecting, the shared services for the town of Rushville. We're keeping that,
That's the same agreement.
I'm sorry?
That's the same agreement that we had.
Um,
Okay.
Okay, so, I would make a motion to allow, John Dolce to, oh, they should do that.
The motion is to approve the shared services agreement with the town of Barcelona and authorizing the supervisor to execute the same.
So move,
So moved.
second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Okay. Any other one of these comments? If not, Brian,
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
all in favor? Aye, motion carried.